Hey guys, how are you? Into day 6 and feeling actually really good. Like I'm turning the corner now, like no hunger and energy starting to come back. So everybody takes a little bit of different time in order to kind of transition into feeling a little bit better, especially when you're not having any kind of sugars or grains and kind of limiting your carbs to just vegetables and some forms of fruits. Here's what I want to talk to you about the scale. So the scale is actually, I would call it today, and this is true generally speaking in women, it's your worst enemy. There are so many people who get on the scale and they base their self-esteem off of what that scale tells you. So, and I've actually have struggled with it a lot in the past, that like the scale literally would like make or break my day. And that's just wrong. So, and let me give you an example why that's not very important. So when I did my initial measurements, I think I was 242 pounds, and my body fat was a little bit over 15. So from a general health perspective, 15% body fat is actually pretty good. For like performance or maybe your ability to see a six-pack, not the best. So I would say, probably getting into the maybe 10 or 11% is actually, where you start seeing those washboard abs and whatnot. But from a general health perspective, 15% is actually really good. Here's what's interesting. So according to, the scale and according to BMI, your body mass index, I'm actually considered obese. And that's actually one of the reasons why I have to pay higher health insurance premiums and life insurance premiums, because they look at my weight versus how tall I am, and I'm considered basically on the front edge of being obese. Obviously, we know that's not true, and which is why weight is a really poor indicator. I am built more like a linebacker than I am a ballerina, and that's one of the reasons why. Here's the thing with the scale. I did my body fat and my weight, I remember about 15 years ago when I was in chiropractic school, we did this for a class and did a really accurate measurement for body fat. I remember back then my weight was 224 pounds and my body fat I think was 19%. So let's look at that just for a second. Today I was 242 and 15% body fat, and 15 years ago I was 224 and like 19% body fat. So I weighed less, but what that also means is today at 41 versus 25 or 26 is I have about 15 to 18 pounds more muscle and about 12 pounds less fat. So that's why the scale is it can be your worst enemy when you're literally comparing that. So here's the top 3 tests that I think can determine your overall health and longevity. And there's certainly some other ones, but I want to go over the 3 in ascending order of importance. First test to actually really look at is to look at your body fat and your lean muscle mass. So listen, there's studies out there that show that the more muscle mass you have and the less body fat that you have, down to a certain point, is these people typically live longer. So a great measurement for like how long am I going to live and how well am I going to live, healthy longevity, is muscle mass versus body fat. So that would be number 3. And I wouldn't even put the scale in the top 10. The second most important test that you should get would be to look at how your hormones are actually functioning. So looking at stress hormones like cortisol, looking at are really, really important. And I actually read up to 90% of doctor visits, according to the CDC, are due to stress-related events. I think that getting your cortisol tested is really important. And then also looking at some of your other hormones that are needed, that are produced when you're in a non-stress state. So cortisol is produced in a stress state. And then in a non-stress state, things like DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, thyroid, progesterone, hormones like that, those are actually hormones that are produced in a growth state, in a healing state, in a relaxation, in a reproduction type state. So those things aren't produced when you're in this constant fight or flight. And so I think measuring those hormones are really important in order to kind of see how stressed you are and how much the body is in this fight or flight response or in this growth, healing, reproduction type response. And the third thing is, and no one actually thinks about this, and the third thing is actually getting an x-ray of your spine. And the real definition of health, they'll say, is when the body is healing and functioning at 100%. So health is actually healing, health is actually 100% function. Now, think of what controls all the function inside the body. It's the brain, spinal cord, and the nerve system, and it communicates with every cell inside of the body. This is the missing link in healthcare. All the diet coaches, all of the nutrition gurus, they're trying to decrease the stress response, thinking that it's only nutrition or that it's only just relaxation techniques, and they're missing a major component of stress, and that's stress that's actually on the nerve system. So anytime that you have any kind of misalignment of the spine, fixation of the spine, or areas that aren't moving the way that they're supposed to, this actually stresses out the brain, and it actually can wreck the HPA axis. This can actually mess this up really bad, put the body in a chronic state of stress. There's physical stress, there's chemical stress, there's mental stress. No one is actually looking at the physical stress that's taking place inside the body. And so that's why you have to look at those three things. So the body communicates neurologically and the body communicates hormonally. If the hormones are doing well and the nervous system is doing well, and you are in a lot better state of health than if they're not, obviously. Hey, it's time to train. And we're going to be doing some pull-ups, we're going to be doing some deadlifts, and then following it with some wall balls, air squats, and some terrible, what's known as the echo bike. We also call that Satan's tricycle. So day 6 going good. We'll see you guys on day 7 for the T28 challenge. Be well.